Ukraine's Anti-Corruption Bureau says a former deputy prime minister is a suspect in its investigation of a major corruption scheme in the energy sector. The Bureau said in a statement that it recorded a total of $1.2 million being transferred to the official, whom it didn't name, in line with Ukrainian law. Another suspect, reportedly an associate of Vladimir Zelensky, fled the country as police raided his Kyiv home. Ukrainian authorities leveled charges against 7 people in an investigation into an alleged $100 million kickback scheme involving senior energy officials. Ukraine is under pressure to crack down on corruption as it seeks European Union membership and courts critical financial support from Western partners while fending off, as we've been reporting, massive Russian military attacks on its energy system.
Its infrastructure has been under constant fire since the start of Russia's invasion. Now Ukraine's energy sector also faces inquests from within. The country's anti-corruption agency is accusing national nuclear power provider Energoatom of siphoning over $100 million through a series of illegal kickback schemes.
Energoatom is a key company that provides more than 50% of Ukraine's energy. It is very important that the investigation is conducted transparently and openly, and all individuals, if proven guilty, will face zero tolerance for corruption.
Ukraine's Anti-Corruption Bureau says it uncovered the high-level criminal scheme over the span of a 15-month investigation. It alleges Energoatom forced contractors to pay kickback fees of up to 15% or risk losing their supplier status. The accusations have stoked fresh public anger at a time of widespread power outages in Ukraine and have placed the country's president under renewed scrutiny. Earlier this year, Volodymyr Zelensky signed a law that severely restricted the power of Ukraine's anti-corruption bodies before making a U-turn following mass popular protests. Faced with the latest allegations, the Ukrainian president vowed to crack down on any form of graft.
Effective measures against corruption are urgently needed. Punishment must be inevitable. There must be convictions, and government officials must work for law enforcement agencies to achieve results.
2 of Ukraine's opposition parties on Monday filed parliamentary motions to oust part of Zelensky's cabinet over the corruption scandal.
There's more. Ukrainian authorities have dismissed the supervisory board of the nuclear energy agency Energoatom after this corruption investigation launched into alleged corrupt activity. These are the words of Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko. Sviridenko also saying a new audit of the company will be conducted, and it's emerging a key ally of Zelensky then organising a scheme of corruption of $100 million worth, according to the investigation. Let's get some assessment of the impact this is having in Ukraine and bring in Peter Zalmayev, founder and director of the Eurasia Democracy Initiative. Peter, joining us live from Kyiv. Peter, pleasure to have you on the programme, as always. What effect is this going to have on Ukraine across the board?
It's nothing pleasant for Ukraine or for the president. Let me remind you, it's bittersweet for him and for the opposition that you just mentioned in the lead-up, including President Poroshenko, who, if you recall, lost his bid for a second term largely because of a very similar corruption scandal on the part of some of the people that was associated with his team and also had a hand in some allegedly corrupt dealings with the defense sector. So we're seeing a repeat of this. And now, as I also mentioned in the lead up, very shady circumstances leading up to this. The guy was probably informed before the search of his apartment would take place, and then he was able to leave the country. It's not the first time. It's happened throughout this 3.5-year period of war. People have fled. As difficult as it is to flee Ukraine, these people are able to do that. A lot of questions, serious scandal for the president. On the one hand, you can say that there's transparency, and even his former allies, such as this guy who's been connected to the president for some time, they're being held accountable. But let's see this accountability. The guy is out of the country. We cannot expect him to be extradited anytime soon. These things take a long time. And once again, this does nothing to instill any more confidence in the Ukrainians in this ongoing war effort, as in a period where we need all the help we can get allegations of millions of dollars of, money stolen from the taxpayers, from Western assistance. Of course, this is not anything to be excited about.
As you point out, this could not come at a worse time, could it? Because Ukraine needs that help and needs that good faith from its Western allies, from the US, from everybody really to continue with its war effort. So this couldn't really happen at a worse time. Would it be fair to say, Peter, that how this is dealt with is going to be the important thing? Zelensky has come out and said that there needs to be transparency and people need to be held accountable. But it's a question of how this goes forward and whether that is seen to happen, whether that is seen to be done.
Indeed, and once again, coming back to the idea of accountability, and it was paraded on Ukrainian TV how the bribes were taken, and of course, U.S. dollars denominated in the U.S. currency, and with various stamps on the stacks of money indicating individual United States of the United States of America. This could be fodder to all the detractors of Ukraine in America, in Washington, and we cannot afford that sort of thing. Of course, we have yet to see true accountability on the part of this government. Even though once again, it's not the first corruption scandal that's been uncovered, but we've seen scandals before and some serious allegations, which it's not clear where they have gone. I mean, there've been trials. The trials have dragged on. Where are the people who have actually gone to jail and are doing hard time? It's not clear in the public's mind that this has been happening other than on lower levels. And now we're talking about serious level of individuals connected directly to the president, one of whom has fled the country. I hope for Ukraine's sake and for President Zelensky's sake that he's able to put on a credible demonstration of accountability.
You mentioned Petro Poroshenko, previous president of Ukraine, lost his bid for power because of a corruption scandal that really hurt his possibility of getting elected. I'm wondering, and you just hinted at it there, Peter, how is this going to affect Vladimir Zelensky? Will this basically tarnish his image abroad? So far, of course, in his role as wartime leader of Ukraine, going back to that speech where he said, "Yatut, I'm here. I don't want to ride. I want weapons to fight against the Russians." I think he went up immensely in most people's estimations across the world for that courage. Will this scandal take the shine off that, do you think?
I mean, once again, if he lets this one go, it won't do anything to, burnish his image. Of course, once again, the crucial component here is Washington, and this does nothing to instill confidence in our allies there. Especially now that we are expecting Donald Trump to follow up on his decision to slap sanctions on Russia. They're actually due to go into effect at the end of this month. We're also expecting continued military aid and maybe even tomahawks. That complicates the effort. So once again, it's in the interest of the president and Ukraine for him to act decisively. The longer this goes on, this sort of lack of accountability, this gives fodder to rumors swirling about potential, replacements for Zelensky, including, the former commander-in-chief and currently Ukrainian ambassador in London, Mr. Valery Zaluzhny, was a very popular figure, and according to polls, is the only person who could beat Zelensky at the polls, even though he has said that he's not planning to run as this war is continuing. As you know, the Ukrainian constitution does not allow for it, and that's what keeps, keeps Zelensky confident that he can weather any storms, because he's been there for as long as the war continues. But once the war is over, when it's over, this is going to be a different story.
Indeed, there is a sense of getting rid of the main problem, which is the war, but of course, underneath it, that problem of corruption, which is something that has been there and is important in order to further Ukraine's chances of EU membership as well. Peter Zalmayev, as always, pleasure to have you on France 24. Peter Zalmayev, the director of the Eurasia Democracy Initiative. Thank you for joining us, sir.